Hi everyone, I am Tara, aka Spirit Mother, and I would like to welcome you all back to my channel on YouTube. Spirit teaches it going with itself, on TikTok 1974, and I'm also live on my Facebook. If you're new to my channel, I always recommend, suggest, really encourage you to read the description on the YouTube channel. Spirit teaches it going with itself, to get a better understanding of what it is that I do bring forward on my channel. I use a lot of my own life experiences, and I just uploaded a video moment oh moments ago with regards to what I'm going to be talking about on here. Okay, and it's going to be my life experience and what I uh, experienced through the religion, through the spirituality, and through the medical system. Okay, because it was brought up about psychosis. Okay, now this is going to hit a few people. It's going to irritate a few people. I'll make you laugh, I'll make you cry, I'll piss you off. You want to punch me upside my head, and hey, keep your hands to yourself, bring it energetically, and just keep an open mind and put yourself in the situation, okay? Because a lot of us go through this. Okay, right now there's a lot of between medical and religion and spiritual. Okay, because people will say, well, religion is spiritual. Yes, in a sense. Okay, but most people, with regards to religion, they go to a book, okay, and they go to a pastor or what have you, and they don't understand that it's the part of going inward to connect with spirit itself. See, I can already feel that right now because there's people in the medical field that say they're professionals. There's people in the religious field that to say professionals, okay, because you say you're pastors, what have you. But I look at it this way. Why? Like, if you are really truly connected to God, why is it that you feel that you have to go get an education in order to bring forth the teachings of God? People who don't go and spend lots of money and years learning about it, it's not all running to a book. It's about experiencing it for yourself, which I've explained it many times. That, the medical field will fight me on this. The religion, the spiritual field, you'll fight me on this. But that's fine. But you have the ability to speak about this because I've actually experienced it. So I don't go to the book for the answers. I go to my inner knowing. I go to spirit. And, people say, well, they're the ones that did all this testing and everything like that. Well, good. Okay. They did the testing. They're going by people's experiences, and then they're putting it into their own lives without even experiencing it themselves. See, my body reacts, okay, because spirit comes through. And not only spirit, but the spirit of you come through, because it becomes that aggravation. You want to be heard, but you feel unheard because you feel misunderstood, because you feel like, people just want to put a label on everything. Okay. What people don't realize, and, professionals will tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. Is it that I don't know what I'm talking about, or is it that you don't fully understand and know what you're talking about? Because you're going with just the brain. You're just seeing everything from the brain, but it's not just the brain. And that's where, the psychological, the medical, they put you both, it all gets put into your brain. So it's a memory, but your body actually experiences it physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and energetically. So it's not just the brain, but they keep you there. It's the same as religion. Religion keeps you in that mindset of, it's like the brain. You have to know this, study this, study this. Sorry, but hey, directly to spirit, opposed to going to a book. You want to look at your book. If that gives you satisfaction and you're still freaking going and you're condemning people because they don't have the same beliefs as you, then you're not understanding. Okay? Yesa tayo no siya labay tiki sara. Esito ko rin kini mo ko rin ito yesi ko rin ito mo tayo. You know, I know when people try shutting me down, like I went to my ex-husband this morning and we were talking. And I had said about with regards to spirituality and psychosis. He said, well, sometimes it is psychosis. Okay. He's not wrong, nor am I wrong. Because psychosis is actually, well, I see psychosis as being psychic SOS, because you start hearing the voices, you start experiencing things that you can't explain. You start seeing things that you can't explain, but somebody will tell you that, oh, that's just an illusion. You have a mental health disorder. Your brain is manifesting. Your brain is actually remembering different versions of life, but it's also experiencing other psychics. And you're not always aware of it. So when it becomes overwhelming, that's when it becomes part of the psychosis aspect of it, where they tell you need to take a pill for it, when in all actuality, it's just about sitting with that part of you. Now, like I said, medical professionals say, don't listen to her, don't listen to her. That's hogwash. No more hogwash on your fucking religious theory. Go experience it. Oh wait, some of you have. And that's why you went and took psychology, because you wanted to understand it. But everything is not all about physical, because most things come from the spirit. You just experience it through the physical body. Let's dance with it. Move with it. It's like, I can feel that you're attacking me, and it's okay. If that helps you to feel better, because that keeps you in a denial of what it is that you're trying to run from. Welcome to the comedian show. People will say, do you know how ridiculous you look? Do you know you look psychotic? Well, good for you if that's the way you feel I look. Well, that's your opinion, but I know what I'm experiencing. I'm well aware of it. And it's the part where it becomes a psychosis when you don't understand and you're not fully aware of what it is that you are experiencing. People will say it's demonic possession. Yeah, it can get to that point. If you don't have the right people to actually understand what it is that you're experiencing, because they always go to that medical. But see, the thing is, there are other therapists who go beyond that. It's knowing that the medical, the religion, and the spirituality actually go hand in hand, and it's understanding it all in together. There's like our ancestors, the ancient civilizations of classroom, but there are versions of our first future selves, because we've already experienced it. So we become our own teachers. We become teachers for one another. So, I'm going to laugh through this, because, it's that part, like I said, like the spirit, the religious community and the medical community will get irritated with the spiritual community, because, they'll say, like I said, if the spiritual aspect of things is suppressed and you're told that you have to go to church in order to find God, you're going to look for something outside of yourself, opposed to what's really what you're really feeling and festering inside. The demons in that's different versions of our spirit from past, present, future, however you perceive it, because people say everything is the now, but it is like the perspective of it all happening now, but in different timelines that we're observing. You don't have to believe me on this. You don't have to understand this. It's not about believing or understanding. It's about the experience that you are feeling. So, people, I say, like, Christ speaks through me. I surrender. That's the surrender when you allow that to happen. But many people, off to the psychiatric unit. It's like a neurodivergence. I was watching Maya or the lost on the Big Bang Theory. Okay, and there was parts of it, like it's I understand, like, you get these degrees and you go through the science of it, but it's really bringing forward your own experience of what you experienced and how it made you feel. And I'm not asking you that question and how did it make you feel. It's not about me asking you how it made you feel. It's about you allowing yourself to experience what it is that you're feeling. And it's not about explaining it to somebody else. It's explaining to yourself, what are you feeling? Why are you feeling it? Where are you feeling it? And what were you just experiencing in order for it to trigger that feeling? It's a dumb funny. Like, yeah, hey, I don't care how ridiculous it is. It's that part of, do you think I don't know? I'm looking at myself in two cameras, and not only looking at myself in two cameras, but I'm actually physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and energetically experiencing and feeling it. So a lot of psychology is a lot of over-analyzing things. And when you overanalyze things, then that's when you lose the spiritual aspect of it, because you're trying to over-explain something that can be just so simple. But a lot of people, you have, in order to feel intelligent, you feel like you have to go take years of training. But the best teachers, the best guides are the ones who actually experienced it and overcome that experience in order for you to understand and perceive what it was you went through. Some people, you go to religion, you go to spirituality, and some will just constantly just run to the doctor. How's that working out for you? How's it working out for you just going to the church and sitting there and listening to the Babylon and say that, this religion did that religion did that, and we're going to execute them, we're going to kill them. But then you say, oh, well, hey, we're pro-life. Well, no. If you're saying about going and killing people and you condone ICE agents or anybody killing somebody, then no, you are not pro-life. You are only pro-life if it benefits you. I would much rather sit with someone and talk with someone who has experienced it. And then that's the way that you're going to sort through and understand yourself, is by understanding how others perceived it, got through it, because it's not so much becoming like them and just constantly whining about it. It's like brainstorming together. But if you say something like this to like somebody who is so-called professional, well, I'm here to tell you, you're not really professional at all. I'm not being rude. You may have the credentials, you may have the certificates or diplomas or what have you, or have the MD or the bachelor's degree or doctorate or what have you behind you. But that doesn't make you professional. The professional is someone who's actually experienced it and overcome it. And that's how you teach others. It's teaching others the tools that you use, giving them different tools, and then trying those tools out. It's like people getting an exorcism. They say, oh, well, you have to be trained. You have to be trained to do an exorcism. Do you really? Or do you just have to be of spirit? Because a lot of people, they'll tell people, just say, in the name of Jesus, get out. Well, how often does that really work? Because it keeps coming back, right? How about you empower yourself? And then it's not about in the name of Jesus. It's not about in the name of Yeshua or Yahweh or whoever, Allah or whoever, Jehovah, whoever you refer to as your perceived God. Because you are that aspect of God. But, religion will say, no, that's not right. That's not right. That's blasphemy, blasphemy, blasphemy. Who are you to say what blasphemy is what? Because it's not in your text. Seriously, who are you to say what blasphemy is? Because you read it in text. That's where you think you get the credentials, right? But see, I'm going to say it, most medical professionals actually, most of the time, don't listen to their patients. And a lot of people can relate to that because they're left, what just happened there? You go into a doctor's office, you go in for something, you go in because you got something going on. And then it's like, oh, here. Take 2 tablets 4 times a day. Come back in a week or two and, we'll check your symptoms then. Why would you be checking symptoms? Why are you looking at symptoms? Why are you treating symptoms? Why are you not actually listening to the patient? Because the patient is actually explaining it to you, but you're too busy going by the book and not understanding what the patient is conveying. Maybe they're not conveying it because they don't know how to say it or express it. But with all due respect, aren't you the professionals? Aren't you supposed to be able to understand it? If you're a doctor, okay, I know you got surgeons, okay, they're different, okay, but you have a doctor, a family doctor, okay, instead of going and writing prescriptions all the time, and then you have the doctor and then you have the psychiatrist. Why is it that the doctors and psychiatrists are not trained in the same field along with the spiritual aspect of it? And that's where you're going to get true professional. But they're too busy competing with one another. That's the same as in the spiritual community. We're all too busy competing with one another because one card reader's getting their noses joined because they had somebody that would go to them and get their cards read, and then they're going to somebody else. So you're trying to bat each other down. Seriously, if you're good at what you do, but you're depriving that person of going and experiencing it. It's like you going to a doctor and the doctor telling you, oh, well, I actually lost a doctor because I went for a second opinion. And when I come back to give her the results of it, she dropped her patient because she said a breach of trust. But isn't it your legal right to a second or third opinion, however many opinions you actually want to receive? But hey, what do I know? I just know from experience of all the times that, I requested a second opinion and I was never allowed to have one. Well, hey, wait a minute. And then sometimes, even if the one doctor is wrong, sometimes the other doctor, even if they're wrong, they'll stick with the other doctor. Sometimes you have to go out of province because that's what I had to do. I had to go out of province and get a biased opinion. And that's how I ended up finding out that after my car accident, I found out in 2008, 2 years after my car accident, And that's why I ended up losing my doctor, because I went to another province for a PET scan, because I had asked her, here, send me for a PET scan. She didn't have to worry. She wasn't the one paying. I was paying out of pocket. But she wouldn't do that. I'm happy. You don't need that. But yet when I went, and I have the documentation, when I went and I come back with it, she wouldn't even look at it. But you call yourself a professional? That's not very professional, especially, if your patient goes for a second opinion and you deprive them of that opinion and you tell them it's a breach of trust. No, you were the one that was in breach of trust, not the patient. But somehow, because you have the so-called professional credentials, the patient is always the one in the wrong, and then it's, oh, don't listen to this person. Don't listen to this person. They have mental health issues. Take your mental health issues and fucking rotate. Seriously. This is where ignorance comes from, because you don't listen. And then you call yourself a professional. A true professional actually sits and hears and listens to the patient. It's the empathy. That's how you're going to understand what others are trying to convey. Because most of the time, unless it's a physical cut, everything is spiritual. You call it mental health. It's spiritual. It's internal. It becomes mental because you see it mentally, but you experience it physically, right? I have books here with regards to all this stuff, like crystal psychology, like just a mixture of everything. Ancient civilizations, Bibles. I got the Quran coming, the Torah coming, and the infancy of Thomas. I have the infancy gospel, the hidden childhood of Christ, so, and then the ancient truth and esoteric wisdom. I'm not I'm not narrowing myself to one belief or one thing, because that's where you get really nowhere physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and energetically, because you're stuck on one thing. You're not going outside of a box out of theory that other people put in your mind, much like a mind control. You believe what we say, you do as we say, and that's all there is and was and ever will be, which that's actually not true. I have the book of Enoch, deluxe collection. 1 Enoch, 2 Enoch, 3 Enoch, with the bonus gospel of Judas, Mary, and Philip. I have the gospel of the Egyptians. And I even went and got the Ethiopian Bible. But they say that all the books are in there, so why is the book of Thomas not in there? Let's see. Because they say, oh, well, that's not real. Are you sure about that? Even the book of Mary and that, they're not in here. Well, hey, you're narrow-minding yourself because you're told this is all you're allowed to believe. The same as, the medical community, the medical community, the religious community, and the spiritual community. Everybody's always in competition with one another because, there's money to be had, right? Opposed to realizing that it's not about the money, it's about helping to heal. But hey, what do I know? Like I have here, you know, the Emerald Tablets, but because, you know, it's not in your Bible, it doesn't exist. The Union ISIS itself, what, because it's not in the Bible, it doesn't exist. I have that part of the book of Enoch, Jewish mysticism, part of the Zohar. I actually want to get the whole collection of the Zohar. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene revealed, the first apostle, the feminist gospel in Christianity we haven't taught yet. But when people hear the word feminist, you automatically go to the part where all women hate men. But that's not it at all. It's self-empowerment. Mary's message to the world. Gospel of Thomas. You know, but people say, oh, well, that's not real. That's not real. Why? Because it's not in your books. You know, those are the ones that they leave out because, hey, maybe those are the ones that have the proper insight. Those are the ones that actually taught it the way it was meant to be taught. I'm not like, you know, if you have a religion, I'm asking you if okay, if people were really of God and pastors, priests, whatever, if they were actually of God, would you not be teaching everything that it entails of all the stories, all the, like, how it all went throughout time, not just your perspective of it? Because that's where the indoctrination comes in. It's just saying it's only this, it's only this. But it's actually a universal story that you try putting into a book like that size. And then you say that's all it is. So what's good? Trisicamo adesso, you know, some people, they just go by the Old Testament. Some people, they go by the New Testament. Some people go by the Ethiopian, the Torah, the Quran. All the, you know, like, I'm not mocking your religion. I'm asking you, why are you keeping your mind so narrow just to that? One religion, like the Jehovah religions, like, what is it? They say 4 million people or 400 million people are the ones that's going to heaven. Seriously, is your ego that fucking big? I'm not being rude, but who are you to say who's going to heaven and who's not? And what is heaven? Where is heaven? As it said, Christ said, heaven is within you, right? So if heaven is within you, why are you looking out there to find it? But see, those are the things they don't sit in church and teach you. They don't teach you the true teachings. They teach you, they'll read out of a book, and then they'll interpret it how, you know, it was conveyed to them, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily correct, does it? What, you have to go to university to be a preacher of God? Like I said, how big is your ego? I seen people, they're going around on the street and they're asking people, do you believe in Jesus? Do you believe in Jesus? Well, in all honesty, it's none of your fucking business. But did you ever wonder why people don't believe in Jesus? It's not because they worship the devil. It's because you keep telling them they're sinners if they don't. But you want them to come to God. What God do you want them to come to? The God you were told that you had to obey? Because God doesn't ask, a true God does not ask you to obey. A true God actually, like, works with you to grow, to become a leader yourself, of yourself. Not like, giving each other tools to understand different parts of it all, but everybody's like this because you're told, if you don't believe our way, we're going to kick you out of the family. Or if you don't go get baptized under our church, you're not of God. They say Jesus was baptized. Was he actually baptized? Or was that just another depiction to bring about another ritual, which, with regards to the pagan beliefs, you say that's demonic, it's witchcraft and what have you, but yet you're allowed to have your rituals? How does that work again? Some Christian Catholic, it's communion, communion. You got to eat that. You got to eat that cracker, that piece of bread, and that wine to say that you're eating the flesh of Jesus and drinking the blood of, like eating the flesh of the lamb and the blood of the lamb. Sorry, but that sounds a little cannibalistic to me. That's like another ritual of a sacrifice. You sacrificed, whether in some beliefs, Jesus was on the cross, and some Jesus wasn't on the cross. But ones that say he was on the cross will say that, oh, well, that's the way it was. And ones that say it wasn't, then they'll say that's the way it was. Maybe in one aspect of it, it was the woman that was on the cross and then the man on the cross. Maybe in the Quran, it was the woman. And then the other book, it was the man. Or maybe it was just the woman altogether. But see, then the religions wouldn't want to say that it was a woman because you have to glorify the man, right? But many want to suppress the feminine. So who do you think it is? Like, what part of you do you think it is that's coming up? And it's like the psychosis. It's because it's that Pandora's box and all that stuff is pushed down to the bottom. So hope is pushed to the bottom. You keep open and open and open and open. But every time something happens, what do? You push it down because you don't want to. You don't want to look at it. You don't want to experience it. People will shut down. They won't be their authentic self. They won't say who they are. They won't, because religion and the medical field demonizes it because they only use it for their purpose. Because see, the ones who constructed the medical field, they know this stuff. And they know that when you're giving these people the medications, the synthetic drugs, like I'm not saying they're all the drugs are like there's not ones that are good. But see, in like you can do hypnosis in order to do surgery on someone and not feel it. They are doing it in places, but they don't put that in your mainstream media because they say, oh, that's not real, that's not true, that's not true. Plug your ears. Don't listen to this hogwash bullshit. You might learn something. Why do you think they don't want people like myself in the mainstream? Because if others know how to do this and what have you, well, then there's no money to be made, right? In '99, when I used the Ouija board, I opened up the portal. Like I literally opened it up. And it's that portal within us. It's that portal that, people like, did I make this mess? Well, we all did. Did I, when I used the Ouija board, I opened the portal and I never closed it. Because I got involved in something that I didn't quite understand at that time. But at the beginning of it, when I went to the psychiatric unit, they classed it as mental health, as a psychosis. And then about a week and a half after I got out of the hospital, my parents took me to the hospital again because they wanted to go on a trip. And, I was doing some weird shit. I even looked at a nurse while I was in there, and my voice totally changed. And I looked at her and I said, "How's your fucking dead baby?" And she left the room and never to return. And when they took me into when they took me in to see the psychiatrist and the student, I told her, hey, I'm going to do something first, and then I want you to give me your medical opinion. So I started reciting the Lord's Prayer. And as the more I started reciting the Lord's Prayer, the more my body started vibrating and trembling and shaking so bad that I could no longer speak. So I had to stop. I just stopped talking. When I stopped, my body right back to normal. And I looked at the psychiatrist and I said, "What's your medical opinion?" She looked at me and said, "I know nothing about the spiritual stuff." I said, "I didn't ask for your spiritual. I asked for your medical opinion." And she told me, "I can't give you." So we went from them diagnosing me with psychosis to, "I can't give you a medical diagnosis," but they still have tried a number of times to give a medical diagnosis and then blamed everything on anxiety. So do I believe that with regards to the medical community, you have to know, like, not just the medical, but the spiritual aspect of it, because the lack of spiritual knowledge and understanding is what manifests into the mental health. And that's when you get the schizophrenia. That's when you get the sociopaths and what have you. All you need in order to help somebody is you need to give them that breakthrough. You need to show them what's inside. People say, you can't do that. Are you sure about that? You say demon possession, what have you. Do you understand what's going on with Donald Trump? To see the flip flop? They're using him, both sides are using him. And that's why he's one by one. It's like people say, well, that's sociopathic. No, that's two sides of spirituality fighting for a person. You're fighting against your own side. It's like if you understand, okay, we'll go to the Christian or what have you. You say about Saint Christopher. You even have your pendants of Saint Christopher. Do you know what? Do you know what and who Saint Christopher is? You say Saint Christopher carried Jesus the Christ and also the devil. Say he carried him through the water. That's parts that we don't look at. Am I spouting about religion? No, I'm not. But certain people will come in and think that that's what it's about because you're not hearing the whole message. That's where your ego gets in its defenses and blocks everything because it only knows one way. It's taught one way, and if you try to teach it something else, unless you override the ego and say, hey, no, we're going to look at different versions of it because it all pertains. It's not about one thing. It all works together. As far as the religion, I channel my sixth grade granddaddy, and my sixth grade granddaddy had a religious feel. So, when you see the anger and the frustration, that's my sixth grade granddaddy, or even my seventh grade granddaddy, who Edward Cornwall was scalped in 1756, and then he's still alive, drug him away over to George's Island, and then skinned him alive and tortured him, and left him for dead. But the dog, and I mean, it was a fucking demonic dog. I seen it. And I said, when I went to George's Island, it was like people would say, well, that was a psychosis or schizophrenia. No, it wasn't. I know what I experienced and what I seen. It may have not have seen it in like what you would perceive your physical view, but it was in the spiritual view. I was in the spirit at that moment, and he was in a locked cell, and he lunged at me like, ah, and I just fucking flew back and and then my mom and all the spirits, ancestors, everything just, it's okay, Derek, just relax, you're okay. We need you to do this. But people won't believe that, right? Because, but yet it's written in your Bible, but they say it's all demon possession. If any of you watched the movie The Carpenter's Son, I watched it live with people the other day. It's like they have the snake, but it's like a parasite. Because in the movie, Jesus stuck his fingers in this woman's mouth and brought it out and pulled it out like it was a snake. Well, what animal, what parasite grows so fast? It's some kind of worm, right? It's a parasite in your body, and it can grow and grow and grow and grow. If you go watch the movie Snatched with Goldie Hawn in it, okay, they have for them, they're in a different country, and it's the drinking the water, the fact that the parasites and what have you, and they grow, and it affects you. You can get brain worms. It was R.F. Kennedy Jr. He had brain worms. And that's why he speaks the way he does. But those are things that people don't want to know, because you see all the parts of it that, it's all getting stirred up. It's messing with the mind because everybody's in competition with one another. So you don't want to hear the other aspect. He was a drug addict. Am I saying that everything he says is right? No. But I'm seeing both sides. I'm seeing both the polarities, the both versions. It's that part of you. It's like you're wrestling with yourself. It's like an internal, like Michael Dell'Orato, he says about the Royal Rumble. Well, it's an internal Royal Rumble. But see, that's the part, like I used to watch him, but I don't watch him anymore. I appreciate what he did to help me through my awakening, because it helped a lot. So whether I knew him or not, he helped. And that's why I say each person has something to offer. It's just a matter of what it is and how you perceive it. Like I can feel somebody trying to get in my head. It's like, where do I get my information? Or where do you get your information? I get my information from spirit, including from your spirit, because I express and bring forward what others are actually feeling or wanting to express, but are unable to express it for fear of what others will think or say about them. And I really don't give a fuck anymore. That's why I'm here to be a voice for spirit, all versions of spirit. What you perceive to be the dark and the light, or the shadow and the light, or the ego and the empath, because the ego is also a form of an empath. It's what becomes a narcissist. But you have the narcissist on both spectrums of that too, because you have a victim narcissist, which is a part of the victim ego, but it's still an empath. And then you have the ego of the narcissist that, oh, they know everything and nobody else knows nothing. Do I see myself as a victim? No. I used to, but I was a victim of my own stupidity and ignorance, because I wouldn't see things for what it truly was. I wouldn't see that, I'm keeping myself and I keep repeating the same thing because I've done nothing about it to change it. I haven't smoked marijuana in almost 4 years. I haven't drank in almost 4 years. I haven't kissed anyone in almost 4 years. And I haven't been sexually intimate in 4 years. Celibacy. So, if there's people going around telling people that I'm a whore, I'm a slut, I'm this, I'm that, well, you're sadly mistaken. And I have to ask, like, why would you be going there doing that? What we do in our past, it's like people wanting you to get over something that they've done, but, they don't want to, get over what they experienced with you, what they expect you to move on from it, but they don't. It's a little hypocritical, is it not? This all pertains to the way we look at the medical field, the way we look at the religious field, the way we look at the spiritual aspect of it, and then it all comes back to the energetic signature of it all. Because the energy of it puts a toll on our body. You take your medications. It's supposed to be, for one thing, they give you medications, antidepressants, because you're depressed or because you have suicidal thoughts. They give you medication, right? But then the medication they give you actually, instead of preventing it, it can actually escalate it, because the side effects of it is suicidal thoughts. Well, I thought you were trying to get away from those, but why are they giving you medication that will continue to do that and even escalate it? Then they say they got to give you another medication because, now you have anxiety from it. When in all actuality, all you have to do is just sit with the patient, instead of saying, oh, you got like 5 minutes or what have you, because we only got time to write you a prescription. Well, you're not doing your job. You say you're overworked. Well, no wonder you're overworked because you're not doing your job properly. Because if you were, you wouldn't be overworked because those same people wouldn't be coming back and forth. But oh, right, for every prescription, especially the new ones, the doctor gets an incentive. These are the rabbit holes that I went down. So you want to tell me I'm wrong? How about before you tell me I'm wrong? How about you go down your own fucking rabbit hole? Or wait, you won't do that because, hey, it takes a little bit of effort and work to it. So it's easier to allow yourself to be manipulated and go take your pill and say that works instead of changing what actually needs to change, needs to be done in order to remove that pill from your life. It's a dependency. You depend on a pill to do what you can do yourself. It just takes a little more work. And it takes a little more education for the so-called professionals. Because, like I said, it all should be intertwined together. Because it's all connected, whether you're like you want to believe that or not, because of your limited beliefs. That's your trust. That it's only one way and that's it. How fucked up is that? We live in a massive universe and they're telling us it's one way. Like seriously, one or two ways? What's like? Don't you understand what's wrong with that so-called theory? Maybe that's the conspiracy theory. And what others speak about is the truth because, they like to revert everything. See, everybody has a certain way of believing something because you won't open your mind. I was watching this guy on Gaia. He was talking about like the aliens and like with regards to enlightenment and what have you, and people were saying it's another cult. It's not a fucking cult. Do you know what a cult is? There's a difference between a cult and truth. A cult tells you that you can only believe our way, or we're going to ostracize you, we're going to ridicule you, we're going to shame you in front of the whole of the collective, or we're going to join, we're going to bring a coven together and try to execute you, or sacrifice you, or curse you. No, I don't use rituals. And I'm not saying like anything about rituals because people do it. It helps. But that's just another tool to use until you actually become fully connected and aware. And I know, like in the spiritual community, especially the ones that do rituals and spells and stuff like that, that's meant to be a tool for you to learn and teach others how to do it for themselves. It's not about you copying from it. It's like preaching about God. You don't have to go to university to preach about God if you actually are connected. Because then you go get paid, preach about God and do something like something else, or it was never meant to be paid. Some preachers they get a free house. You look at the Pope, you look at all them, and they're so high up. It's like here, glorify us, and you're preaching about you're supposed to look to God, but hey, you got to come glorify us first. That's the deities. It's like You have God, demigods. We are the demigods. We are the children of the eternal, infinite, perceived creator. We are a piece of that consciousness. We are a piece of that flesh. It's the living flesh of the God. Or creator, source, spirit. There's even atheists that, you don't believe in that. Okay. So let's do it this way. It's the cause and effect. Or every action has a reaction. Or the placebo effect. Mind over matter. But people will say, you don't know what you're talking about. You sure? Did you take the time? Or did you just keep in that narrow-minded aspect of, you're always running to the same things over and over again, and you think that that's giving you the whole truth? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Well, they're not telling the whole truth. They're telling pieces of it with manipulated versions to keep you believing that it's only one way. So it keeps you from not seeing, like people will say, well, the Quran is not real. Well, there's parts of the Quran. How wide is the, you have to have both. You have to have it all. It all goes hand in hand. You live in a vast universe. But you don't want to see that, right? The Quran is describing their version of the experience. The Bible is like their experience. The Ethiopian Bible is theirs. Torah, and I can feel that. And if you keep doing that, you're gonna fucking experience and feel it yourself. Because I can feel somebody trying to strangulate me here. It's like that's what we do. That's what people do to one another. If you don't like what somebody says, you feel that energy at them. If you like what they say, you can relate and resonate with it or understand or what have you, then that positive energy goes between. That's why you get people that will look at you like with disdain. Well, that's their evil eye. But see, the thing is, you say the evil eye, the evil eye. Well, it's not just the evil eye, it's the eye of God. It's both what you perceive to be the evil and the light. They see both polarities, they see both aspects of things, all aspects of things. It's the bigger picture. It's when all three eyes work together. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit is the mother, and like the mother-daughter. The son of the father, the daughter of the mother. But they're both the son and the daughter of the mother because the father came from the mother first. But you won't believe that. But you'll say about Mary Magdalene well, you say Mary, Mother Mary, you say about her being able to, like, pregnant from God. Well, who was the God that came down and, had the intercourse with her? She was a virgin. You say she was a virgin. So if she was a virgin, then she hadn't been penetrated. So she was her own God. She produced the, I forget what it's called. She produced like, I can't think of the word. I'm trying to bring up the word. but she impregnated herself because the female body has both. That's the part, okay, the medical community. You know, they call it a deformation or mutation. Sorry, thank you. It's also a deformation, but a mutation. A hermaphrodite. They have both sexual parts, but because it's frowned upon, then the parents, I don't want my kid growing up and this and that. People are saying Lady Gaga or whatever is a hermaphrodite. Well, if she's a hermaphrodite, ain't that her fucking business? It's like shit. I guess she's got the best of both worlds. But people won't like me saying that, right? Because in your Bible it says, gays are wrong. That way of thinking is wrong. And when people say that it refers to in the Bible about men sleeping with men, or what have you, homosexuality, that's not what it's referring to. It's referring to having intercourse with children, bedding children. And what do you have right now? You have your child trafficking. You have certain religions where, they're marrying 9-year-old kids and then impregnating them once they become impregnated and freaking ripping them apart. And they think that's okay. That's what's demonic. So if you don't like me saying that about your religion, well, then, hey, I guess maybe you should do some inner work if you think it's okay. Whether your perceived God said that it was or not, I'd be questioning that God with all due respect, which, hey. I will ask you, did that happen to you? And how did it feel when it happened to you? Because I doubt it was very pleasurable. Because I know when it happened to me, it wasn't pleasurable at all. In 2020, like people say about the Anunnaki. Well, I guess, I had a visit by one of the Anunnakis, and it wasn't a good one either because that one and what looked like exactly like how you would perceive Genghis Khan to look like. Yeshua was Yeshua an Anunnaki? You say it was human, but in some things they depict them as being the giants. But I had one like there were 5 of them. 2 looked like identical twins. They were either looked East Indian or they looked Indian. Whether it was East Indian or what type of it doesn't matter. One was wearing a long black gown, one was wearing a long white gown, and then in between them there was a being that they had like black hair to about here. Their eyes were black. Their skin was kind of a gray blue color, and they looked like they had a almost discolored blue, what I could only describe as being like a scuba diving suit, only much thinner. It looked like it wasn't their skin, but it was. And then I was sitting on my couch. One end, there was a man that looked, I would describe him as being like Genghis Khan. And then at the other end, it was like, was it Uranus? Was it Cronus? Because I believe it was Cronus, Uranus' son and Gaia's son. So Uranus was that the representation of Joseph, and then Gaia the representation of Mary, and they gave birth to Yeshua, which Jesus and Yeshua are two different people, but they still don't tell you that yet. Because Yeshua was the uncle. It's much like if you look at Isis and Osiris. Seth was the brother. So Seth was the uncle to Horus. Seth was the uncle to, you say Jesus, but I say the name, I keep getting the real name was Christopher, the Saint Christopher. But that was the Horus. And Thoth was the uncle to Horus too. But see, that's the part of the religion that they don't teach you, was said to be before that. And if you go and watch Gods of Egypt, you'll see that Horus and Seth were giants. And people say they don't talk about the giants in the Bible, but yeah, they do. But that's the parts that they don't teach you, or they say, oh, the Nephilim are bad. The Nephilim are bad. Are you sure about that? Are you sure that all Nephilim are bad? Because I'm pretty sure the Nephilim were here before humans arrived. Because the Nephilim are the versions, much like the Anunnaki, which created versions of humans, which there are more than one version of humans. And I'm not talking about the different colors. There's a guy to come on in one of the countries overseas. They now have the ability to splice DNA where they can make a person, a human, and an animal together. What does that remind you of? Ancient Egyptian civilizations, right? Horus had the bird face. St. Christopher had the dog face. St. Christopher, they say Seth had the dog face. They say Anubis had the dog face. The crocodile face. People are saying about how certain popes or something like that, certain churches, they have the fish head. And then you see with regards to Jesus, people going around with the fish. I can feel like there's something that wants to try to cut me off and silence me. And, hey. You have half horse, half man, but you say that that's not real. That it's mythology. Is it mythology? Seriously, is it really mythology? Are you that daft into believing that it is mythology? Why? Because your brain cannot comprehend what they do? It's called zoology. You think it's just about animals? Zoology is the integration of life itself. They're splicing plants. You think they don't do it with like different plants? You think There's a different species. They're doing it with different bugs. They're doing it with different animals. And some will even say, oh, well, you can't breed that with that or what have you. Maybe not in the physical sense, but in the DNA sense, they do. That's why you see on TikTok some of these videos and people say it's AI. They have these creatures in cages and things are going on. Well, that's because they're showing you that they've been doing that for centuries and millenniums. But your brain cannot comprehend that because you can't realize that what you're seeing as being told as the past, it's actually future events that you're moving into. It's like moving into your own destruction. You know, people are saying that some of these people are reptilians, different alien species, and they have masks on. Well, they're not wrong. Did you ever go watch the movie Men in Black? They put it right in your face. But, you know, your small human mind that only works at 10% capacity can comprehend, right? Maybe I lost somebody on this, but because it's, you know, it's too much. It's a real, like, you're fucking retarded. With all due respect, if you don't understand this, then maybe you're the one with the mental retardation, which is the ignorance. Mike. Shit, in some religion, you're not allowed to say, like, the I am. Like, who are you to say that they're not allowed? You say Jesus was Jewish. Some say he was Muslim. Some say he was Christian. Who are you to say? Maybe he was born in a Jewish family, but, you know, he had no religion. In the carpenter's son, you know, Joseph was it's like it's like a mind programming. Joseph would get angry because Jesus was because Joseph was in the church and Mary was not. You know, remember Joseph, his 12 brothers sold him into slavery. So what would he do? You're sold into slavery, man. You best bow down to us. We can make or break you. And that's the same as the church and the belief systems of it. I've gone to church before. So, you know, if people want to say I'm demonic, well, they say a demonic person cannot go into a church and they cannot speak of Christ or anything like that. Do you know that you bury people where demonic energies can hang in, but you say it's holy ground? Holy, it's spirit. But you're taught one way or another. That's why I say, like, people are saying in the name of Jesus. If you're saying in the name of Jesus and whatever it is you're saying in the name of Jesus to, you say it's supposed to be afraid. So why does it keep coming back? It's because you are not empowering yourself yet, that version. you're not understanding the Christ of it. It's the empowerment. You pull in the spirit of Christ, and it's like, there's going to be people in the medical community that don't like me, people in the religious community that don't like me, people in the spiritual community that don't like me, and the ones within understanding the energetic part of it. I was watching Diane, and the one that does the Star and Theo and all different versions. They sit and they have to take themselves in a meditative space. It's because they haven't fully surrendered. In that sense of being able to bring it forward whenever it needs to come forward. That's the true part of being fully authentic. Not all my stuff, as you can see, comes. I'm not dissing guys or dissing them because I think it's great what they're doing. And I like watching them because when I'm watching them, I don't feel so alone. Even if they're not physically here. It's not my fault I don't understand the corporate what you're witnessing from me. Maybe you would if you'd actually listen to what I'm bringing forward and actually do the searching yourself. Don't take it as being all that is. But don't throw attacks at me because I make you feel uncomfortable. The mother is nurturing, but she can be like really assertive. The father aspect of it, the masculine is the ego. The masculine is the one that's more afraid. So that's why it has to try and dominate everything. And it doesn't matter whether you're going from the masculine in your female body or your male body. I don't give a shit. That reminds me of watching Charmed when they go to the leprechauns, the Celtic. People say, well, I don't understand what you're saying. Like, you're just speaking gibberish to me. Like, why do you talk like that? Nobody understands you. I've had people say that to me. I don't give a shit if you understand me or not. Maybe your spirit does, and that's why you're so fucking irritated with it. Yeah, yourself. That's the fake father. That's the false father. That's the wannabe, but can't get there because its ego's got its head up its ass. Because it's got to be that way or no way at all. That's where obey. Don't forget to kiss my fucking boot on the way down. Here, let me break it for you while I'm down there. like, oh, you're so disobedient. You're so yeah. True God doesn't make you obey. Shit. And they sure the fuck don't keep your family either. That's like Scientology. Same thing. You know, cult, the same thing. It's like you sit there and you listen to what we have to say and don't you ask questions. Maybe that's why Christ liked Mary Magdalene and spent so much time because she actually asked questions, meaning she was trying to expand her knowledge and understanding. But Mary Magdalene, like myself, it wasn't Jesus she went to. She went directly to God. Jesus wasn't her teacher, or as you say, Jesus. But his name was not Jesus. Many Jesuses existed, but it was more of a Christopher the saint. And that's why you see in the Carpenter's Son where, it was like you're worried about him going to the dark side and then the light side. It was a struggle with both, but understanding both. Because Christ always has to go through its own to understand. That's how the teachings happen. But, you forbid, you say blasphemy because I'm saying that Jesus didn't go through anything, as you put it, but Christopher did. Yeah. You know, I'm channeling and bringing this forward. And I understand that, you say it's not in your book, but it actually is. You're just not understanding because it's worded in a way to trick you. It's like the manipulation. How do you think people manipulate you? They trick you into behaving one way or another and tell you that, they put fear if you don't believe this way, then you will lose your family members. Or you will lose your friend. Well, if you lose your family member or your friend, well, they were never your family and they were never your friend. And they were never your God. But hey, people go out and ask people, do you believe in Jesus? And they tell you to go fuck yourself. Well, that's what. It's like, take your sins and shove them up your asshole. The true sinners are the ones that, are running your systems because they are the sins. Systems integrated into society. So, hey, to the Anunnaki, the ones that think they're leading, pull the fuck up because you're really fucking irritating. What do they? I will be. What do they say about RH negative? What? We're not from here. Where the fuck do you think we're from? My physical body might have been born here, but my spirit's not from here. You want to say I'm crazy? You better do a little bit more research and understand what you fucking preach. Di sicurezza toccare tutto crisi. If you look to somebody who's all about money and thinks that it's okay to freaking like go after people because of where they're from. Like people are saying with regards to ICE, oh yeah, they're doing a good job, they're doing it right, they're doing it right, oh, they're getting rid of the illegal immigrants. Do you not realize that, if it wasn't for a lot of those illegal immigrants, your stuff would not be built. And on top of that, you wouldn't, um, well, your country is in debt by $38.6 billion. But those ones you call illegal immigrants, I have to ask, how exactly are they illegal if they're paying taxes? But you won't look at that, right? Because, to be a legal citizen, when you're a legal citizen, you pay taxes, right? You come in on visas, you're temporarily part of, so you pay into taxes, right? So you're saying that these people are illegal because they don't have a piece of paper to say that, oh, we came here, but actually they have a piece of paper every fucking year that says that they are illegal because they're paying taxes. But you didn't understand that, did you? Because you figured they got to have a fucking piece of paper because they're from a different country. When in all actuality, their ancestors probably came from here and went over there because they went back and forth. But, people don't know how to fucking share, right? You say, oh, we own this. You got to have permission to come here. Go fuck yourself. Who put you in control? Religion, it's all about land. Politics are all about land because religion and politics are the same thing. It's like you put in your government, you give yourself two fucking choices because you're stupid enough and daft enough to vote one or the other instead of realizing that, hey, they both like that because they're working together. So you won't vote for somebody outside of that because you figure, oh, well, this one's going to get in or that one's going to get in anyway, so I got to pick from the two. So you limit yourself, right? And then you say about choices. Hey, shoe fits wear it. I can feel people laughing right now. It's like I was watching the episode of Charmed where Prue is in there's a priest who has the gift of empathy and empath, and he curses a demon with human empathy, and then the demon curses Prue with it because Prue does a spell to try, so it goes on harm because somebody has to take that empathy. So it went on her, but it was showing that she couldn't handle the empathy, but then she empowered herself. But that empathy near drove her insane. If you don't understand what you're experiencing physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and energetically, then that's the insanity because you're the empath. And everybody has that empath in them. It's just some are more tapped into it than others. That's spiritual and the medical. Only in the medical, they don't say it that way. Because in the psychiatry of it all, most of them don't even relate anything to them. which most things that you experience through mental health and the physical health is through empathy, because it's not always your own feelings. It's an energy. It's like when people say, I'm sorry I keep getting on you, or will you get off me like that? And you're not even on them, but they feel like you're on them. It's like, get off, right? It's like learning how to work with your own empathy, empathetic feelings, and understanding and bringing them and realizing that that is part of you. You're meant to feel that. That's what keeps people from doing harm to others or understanding others. Like right now with the ADHD community, like I'm really irritated because my ex-husband, that's all he ever does is use it in his excuse, but it's actually just go look up neurodivergence. But people don't want to do that because you have to train yourself. You went into a program with people leading you to believe, oh, this is the way you are, but they don't actually give you the tools. They just say, here, go take this skill. So, you can focus more, but yet it takes away everything else because it can even take away your sexual. So, hey, people say, no, you don't have a medical degree, you don't have your this degree in religion, you don't have this these degrees to say that you can do this, you do that. I don't need. And if you think I do, then you still have a lot of inner work and learning to do. Because, like I said, experience is the best teacher. It's not about theory. Oh, well, this person felt that way, so you should feel that way. Seriously. And who the fuck are you to say that? Or even attempt to do an thesis and say that that's the way it is. And you call yourself a neurologist or a neuroscientist or what have you when you don't fucking know the whole parts. Because if you did, you wouldn't be talking or saying stuff like that. Or even feeling that way for that. Qu'est-ce qu'on voulait selon moi? It's like I seen a video on TikTok this year. They broke me down. A woman, she was doing a video and she was warning women about like how men can be, but it's not so much the men, it's the masculine, but it's like how they break you down. They talk down to you because they're insecure about themselves, and that's the only way they can feel good about themselves. So, hey, like you probably know shit about them if you're in a relationship with them. So, hey, they want to throw shit at you. How about you give it back? People will say get over it, but like I said, those same people that say get over it don't get over anything. They're still whining about things when they were 10 years old. And some of them are in their 60s and 70s. Well, it's not about getting over it. It's, hey, maybe it's time to work through that and let it go. Or what? Because, it keeps you feeling in control. It keeps people feeling sorry for you. Sometimes that's just a little bit of you. I was watching a woman and I see her when she comes up on TikTok, it really fucking irritates me. Whether it's an act or her child's just like that. No offense, ma'am, but hey, that's your problem. You created that. This girl was telling her mother she was a peasant, throwing computers and everything, going in grocery stores demanding, and then the mother just saying her name and doing nothing. It's, with all due respect, you're just the same as your daughter. But you're the victim. You play victim, you're a victim narcissist, and your daughter is a narcissist. But she learned it from her parents. Most places we learn things is in the home or where we spend most of our time. So from the time we are born until the time we attend school, who are you with then? Does it start then or is it after we get into school? Because school is a big part of creating a narcissist too. Because the same thing. They give you one scenario, they don't want you questioning it, you're just supposed to learn what they give you. Someone said that when kids start school, they're turned into ADHD. No, you're ADHD, but you're neurodivergence, and putting you in a seat all day, that harms ADHD people. It harms neurodivergent people because they're so high functioning and energetic wise, and you're telling them that they're too much because you're not sitting in the chair for 8 hours of the day and staring at a piece of paper or a chalkboard and just they're not you're not expanding their mind, allowing them to expand their mind because they are the creators. True God was a neurodivergence. But you don't get that, do you? Because the God you look to tells you that you got to do this or that, and there's no other way. Bow to me, kiss my boot, and don't forget to sniff my ass. And excuse me, but I might have a little shit there because that's all that ever comes up. Tell the medical community, expand your mind. Use the all available. Instead of just saying, oh, well, I can only write you a prescription for this. We don't believe in homeopathic. We don't believe in the natural stuff. We're not going to tell you to go get Reiki because we want to give you like a hydromorphone or an addictive substance so that you keep coming back, and then hey, then we can just pull you off it abruptly. So you have a what is it called? Your body goes through a detox, and that's when the psychosis comes. That's because spirit comes flooding in all at once because it was suppressed by these drugs. So if people don't like me or don't want to be around me, that's just fine. That's less energy and stuff that I have to feel for others. Whew. I know many people who feel that way. So they drink themselves into oblivion. They sit in a dark room, and then when they're around people, they just hate them because they end up feeling everything at once. That's why you get people that, they just want to stay home. They're comfortable at home. Well, you're not, you're an empath. You're not meant to be home. You're meant to be out helping people embrace their empathy, help them learn to understand what it is that they're feeling, they're experiencing this, what fearful that is. It's not about it interrupting your peace. You just go home and, if you know how to sit with yourself, then I guess, that shouldn't affect you. One woman say, because I said, I become you, and she said about me taking on that energy. I said, I transmute it because I don't really take it on per se, as I allow myself to experience what it is that you're experiencing. So it's like that part of her where she went and hid in the basement. And that's what people are doing. You're running in or hiding in the basement because that's in our comfort zone. It's where we feel safe and comfortable. And you feel like others aren't getting on with you. It's learning how to embrace that empathy and transmute energy that is what you perceive to be getting on you. It's like the concept of, okay, think of it this way. The concept of you say about Jesus died for your sins, right? So every time you say in the name of Jesus, or you put your sins on Jesus, that's the part of getting on. Instead of understanding the message of how to work through it yourself so that it's not getting on someone else or they're not getting on you, vice versa. It's like, that's like the COVID, okay? The 6 feet rule. Was COVID actually a representation of how spirits travel? Because it could be that too, because they travel through the phones, electronics. They travel through, but see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Do you not understand what that term means? It's like the orifices where spirits can go inward and come out through. Yeah, let's go. Pump up that jam. Pump it up. It's the shifting. It's the spirits that, you're not supposed to tell that. It's an irritation. Hey, you take this how you so desire. Some of your, if you know who I am, or if you see me on the boat, you're just going to look at me like, I got the stain for you. But hey, that's fine if you got the stain for me. But ask yourself, why do you have disdain for me? Did I hurt? Did I just have someone just keep fighting? What's going on? See? It's it's like rewiring of things and everything. There's this young woman on here, and God love her, man. Her parents and her grandparents, they put on this music, and she goes around dancing. But I know that she's going through a lot of pain with it because it can get it's everything's trying to rewire itself. It's the spiritual awakening part. And then know some people say, well, I didn't go through that, or, I don't want to go through that. It's like, that's okay. Because maybe it's not what you meant to go through. It's meant for ones that are ready for it. So God loves this woman like Jesus, sweetheart. She just goes and I know how she feels with regards to it. Maybe not as intensely. I never went and had stuff. I had mercury poisoning from breathing in the vapors, and yeah, it was not. That wasn't fun either. It just like, but that's what when you experience that, it's like that. It's a brain. It's not a brain disorder. It's a rewiring. So if anybody thinks that it tickles, it doesn't. It's very fucking intense. But you gotta try it. It's like it's great. Instead of telling somebody going through it that they look ridiculous or what have you, how about you understand what it is that they're experiencing? Instead of telling them it looks like a raging lunatic and stuff like that, or that they look crazy or this or that. Because too many people run from you work from your head and you're rarely ever in your heart space because you're afraid it's going to fucking hurt or you might have to feel something because the God you look to, he forbids that emotion of feeling that because it don't mean that. It's like spirit will make you feel it willingly or forcefully. And when I say forcefully, it's you will keep repeating things because spirit's trying to show you what you're not seeing, what you're not allowing yourself to experience in order for it to release from you. And we say that there's some things we don't want to release, but that's asking ourselves why. It's not about forget like you let it go. And when I mean let it go, it's not like nothing's like just look like will you just let it go? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about working through it so that you can allow yourself to let it go and it unlocks and it releases so it goes where it needs to be. And then it's experienced as a whole opposed to something that's excluded and keeps clutching. Because we're told, like others will say, well, you should be over this by now, like, or what have you. It's like, how dare you tell somebody they should be over it by now? Are you that person? Do you know how that person felt or the experience that they went through? When even if they were going in the same, even if they were the same place, same time, same experience, but each person experienced it differently. Some people don't suppress things. And it's not that person's fault if you can't understand that. Why don't you sit and talk with them and ask them? Have that heart to heart talk opposed to the ego to heart and an ego to ego. Go heart to heart. That's the empathy. That's the spirit. That's the connection. See, the mind sees it, but the heart goes through it. So, if I'm suffering all of a sudden, like, it's just like, oh, whatever, it's because I'm handling what you won't say or what you're feeling. You allow yourself to hear it. So you're hearing it outside of yourself. I know that people just didn't get that because everything just comes up. It's because it's not what you thought or what you learned or studied or was programmed. Even if it was put through fear of losing a loved one, and they want nothing more to do with you because of the way that you see things. I have a difficult time sitting with small child because anytime I go to have a small child, what I have to say feels like it's not important. I get irritated. It's that part of you get irritated because you feel like everybody wants you to listen to what they have to say, but when you go to speak, you're too much. Or they don't want to talk about what you want to talk about. It's all about what they want to talk about. And then they'll say if you every time you try talking about it, they cut you off. Every time you go try talking about it, they say, you always talk about that. Actually, no, I rarely get to talk about it because every time I go to talk about it, you shut me down. It's like being heard. Everybody wants to be heard, but nobody wants to listen. So why would you want to be heard and not listen to whatever people are listening to what you have to say? So why won't you listen to what they have to say? Oh, right, because it goes against your beliefs, or because they're too much, or it's a topic that you don't want to talk about because well, I don't like small talk. I want to have an actual conversation with someone with the stuff that I like to talk about, something in common, that understanding. And it's like no wonder people run away because it's like when you watch Once Upon a Time, you have Tilly. Okay, she's Alice from Alice in Wonderland, and she's swimming around and she's trying to prove herself innocent, but nobody knows who she was. But they seen her every day. So out of this stuff, I do see how it relates. So I don't need to go to a book. I'll just watch some programs because some TV, what have you, movies, series, what have you, because it has a message in it. It's telling you something, whether you think it is fiction or not. because most of the time, a lot of things are actually not fiction. It's what part of the story or people say like humanity was only 6,000 years, civilization is 6,000 years old. But yet, they're saying that the Indians inhabited the earth 10, 12,000 years ago. But there was people before that. And you can be offended by me saying Indian all you want. That's something you should be proud of. It's not, it doesn't have to be Native American. The ones who get offended by it, how do you perceive an Indian? You see them as someone bad, so you have to call them Native American, so we don't have to see. A woman, she was doing a thing and she was saying about not rate, but fear, and she's putting it all on white man or white woman, saying that the black husbands are going and having sex with the white women, and the white people want to survive. So that's why the white people hate the black people. That's what I'm getting from that message. And it's like because she's saying because the black men are sleeping with white women, and then the white men are getting mad because those babies are turning all brown and mulatto, so there's no longer a white civilization. And then she's blaming the white people because in the black communities, the children are going fatherless. Maybe you should be looking at your own house. And then saying about the black community criminals and what have you. It's happening on all. You're just not. It's just you're not seeing it because you're seeing your own version of it. So to blame a white woman because your black husbands or boyfriends are not with you anymore and they're with a white woman. How the hell? Like, and seriously. And then you'll still blame it on that person. Why? When are you going to take blame for yourself? And I don't care what color you are. This is why it's like this. The Ku Klux Klan, man, you're really fucking assholes. But hey, you got to look back at what happened to people because most of the time, like you don't see both sides. You're all doing it to each other, but you want to blame one over the other instead of taking responsibility for your own culture's actions. And then there was another woman, she was saying about how we come in and learned how to speak Portuguese and all these different English and everything like that. And I just made the comment, well, if you're not speaking your native tongue anymore, that's not our fault. If you're alcoholics because you say somebody brought alcohol to you and you drank it and you're an alcoholic, how is it that person's fault? It's your own fault for becoming an alcoholic. You drank it, right? Mm. See, I can see stuff about the Indian culture too because my ancestors were them. But what? Because my skin's not the same color? Excuse me. Do you have a gander at the cheekbones? Because don't they say a lot of native people have high cheekbones? Not being rude. You'll take it as being rude, or you'll take it as this or that, but hey, you better stop having the truth and reconciliations until you understand what truth and reconciliation is. It's like, I'm not being rude. I'm saying truth and reconciliation from throughout time because nobody wants to look at their own truths. Black people were enslaving their own people. White people enslaved their own people. I felt that. Did you ever hear of Samuel Ball, the plantation? His father, Ellis, he was enslaving his own people. He was a black man. But you'll say, oh, well, they started it first. Really? Is that what you're going to keep? Is that what people's going to keep going with? Well, they started it. Okay. So you're going to say they started it, and they're going to say you started it. So I have to ask, what the fuck the difference is of who started it? When are you going to start getting and moving through it instead of continuously blaming each other and take responsibility for your own actions? You know that as being played, I'll say African American. Okay, she's the one that does stand up, and Native American. Okay, stand up. That's not period. She's a beautiful singer, and I like what I like her song. I really do because it hits a boat right. It stand up, take my people. It's what it's doing is like people don't get the song because they say with regards to the Underground Railway, they perceive it as it was getting into safety. But there was other nefarious things happening because they were on the run. Because the ones that were running the Underground Railway liked the chase and they knew the underground, so they knew how to grab people. Getting my people to safety. So parts of that has to do with religion. Parts of it has to do with medical community because you say people are going missing. There was some kind of thing that said that somebody showed up somewhere with 250 livers or organs at a hospital, whether that was true or not. It's called the black market. And that's the part you don't want to look at. But it's actually all affiliated with the same. Because it happens in religion, it happens in spirituality, it happens in religion. In religion, They have your rituals in spirituality. You have your rituals in the medical community. They have the rituals, the same thing they do every time. And what does it have in common with different types of rituals? The disembodiment of people. That's the parts you don't want to look at. Even like when you go in for surgery, okay, not all people are able like, to do it, but I work on myself energetically. Okay, it's like it's almost like a razor that comes from my hand because I connect, and then I just start moving and sort of feel where it is that I have the problem or where spirit drives me to go. And it could be that I'm actually connected to someone else. So I'm moving it. And when I get to the spot, I can feel that pull. And then I take and I twist it a little bit and then I hold it. Because that's when it's a part of your energy that finds it. Sound fucked up? Oh, probably to me. But I'm telling you by experience, whether you believe that or not. Don't do that again. That was a spirit to spirit, and that spirit knows who exactly who I'm talking to because it resides in a certain individual. Yeah, I'm conscious of what I'm going through. And I know that I'm astral traveling in my sleep was holy shit, man. It's like, does the day ever end? If I'm not doing in my physical and I'm even working while I'm in my physical, I'm also working in my spirit. Because most help is needed in spirit. So I don't have that going out and physically working all the time in the sense of because I'd be there physically working, my mind would be working at me in spirit. So it'd be like and people wouldn't be able to comprehend that at that time until they understand it themselves. Some are curious about it. And some just think I'm right out too much and think I should be fighting something or not going around them with their summers because I know better because of how I am. I'm most definitely autistic. But you say that people use that as a bad thing, but they are actually very, very creative, intelligent. We just don't get it. It's just space is not there. They're expensive. And, like I'm saying that most of the people running the world right now, they're in that spectrum. And depending on how they were treated growing up, it's the way they're going to get. like schools automation. Telling people that they need to look for what you work on, learn to understand on their level. Oh, wait, they look for his because then it would be people are actually meant to be like people say, well, you know, nobody could know that. No, you know, I think more people would be willing to work if you didn't tell them that that was the only way to do it and allow them to do it the way that's comfortable for them. As long as the job is done, because you know your systems don't work together. Your structure, that's all fucked up. They're in competition with one another, eh? You know, you gotta keep making money, right? You know, when they put in a building and they put all the piping in and then, you know, the building goes in and what have you, and then what ends up happening, they come along and dig it up and start paving it again. They don't talk with one another. It's the same as your police force, your education system, your medical community, all parts of it. They work separately from each other when they're meant to be working with one another in a healthy way, not telling the people that they're the problem if they don't understand because you know there'd be a lot less crime too because but then they say, oh well, we did the job. Like shit, your ego that big that you gotta worry about whether you're gonna be out of the job as long as it's keeping lives safe and people okay and mentally stable and healthy. Holy shit, talk about ego because that's the way people think. Or we'll have a job. We'll go re-educate yourself. Or wait a minute, don't become a master of one. Learn how to become a jack of all trades, and then you're adaptable. You wouldn't have to rely on someone else all the time. You know, at least you'd have the basic skills. I'm not saying like that you can go and be a surgeon, but you can, you know, work with your own energy, work with your own spirit, because spirit is your aura, your essence. You know, it irritates both me and spirit when people talk to me like I'm stupid because to them I sound like I'm stupid because they don't understand what it is. So, with all the respect, I'm not actually stupid. Maybe you're just narrow-minded. was watching Charmed, and they had about like the seven deadly sins and Charm, and Piper Prue, she got hit with okay. There's pride in wanting to be recognized for the things you do, and then taking pride in what you do. It's like sometimes pride can save you. Pride can get you that job. It's like you're not trying it in someone else's face, and you're not trying to chomp someone down and just to get it. You get it because you deserve it. You worked for it. Yeah, I had to restart because it shut down for some reason. I was here the other day, and my ex-husband told me that he went to dinner at the pond, got out. He was walking on the ice and he fell through. And see, the thing is, it's like 3 or 4, yeah, almost 4 years ago, or about 4 years ago. I was here and I heard a splash, what sounded like it was in the pond. So I ran out and I got in my car and put my car down so that I could see in the pond to see what fell in. But nothing had come in. So I had already seen that happen 4 years prior to that. It's like I heard before, like God. I'm here. I'm ahead of my time. You weren't supposed to show up yet. But there at Easter, when I first started going through the awakening, and I hit through I don't know whether I got hit or whether it come out of me or what, but it was like one fucking big flash of light, and my body just started like, I mean, it was buzzing and vibrating so hard, like my body was, yeah, I could feel my brain shaking inside. It was worse than an epileptic seizure. And then that's when I like used my and I asked for I hollered out like when it was trying to tear me down, trying to tear me apart. It was like in spirit. And then this come up and I connected with this part of my body and I just crumpled everything. I squeezed it. And I like, oh, and then when I hollered for God's help, that's when the light happened. Not once, but twice. After the first time I was going vibrating for about 5 minutes. Second time about 2 minutes. That's at least what it felt like. So, hey, I was I was gang raped in the spiritual world. And my ex-husband thought I was doing it on purpose because I had been screaming for over 2 hours and people were knocking on my door, but nobody was coming in. I was screaming for help. And when my ex-husband took me out to his place, that's when I went to the bathroom and I had a lot of steam and I hadn't had sex with him. And people can laugh about that. Oh, you won? That just goes to show your intelligence. Maybe you don't have any intelligence. But if you think something like that is funny, just put it to you this way. I would hate to see you. Then when you took me out there, it was Spirit was showing me the different entities and what happened. And I felt like something kept biting. It was like something actually biting the jaws. And it was trying to push it away. And then on the Friday, that was when I see like a storm. And then the sun was starting to go up, and the sun was like staring out towards the sun. And the clouds started moving. And then it was the sun. It was a hole. And then it just started spiraling until all I could see was blue. And I seen this little orange person. People say, well, that's because you're looking at the sun. No, it was like in one spot and they kept getting closer. And then Easter Sunday, I was out laying on my deck looking up at the sky, the sun. And as I was staring at the sun, and then it went to a slice, and then it separated where it was a white light, and then like a white bright, and then a black slice. And then I felt an entity, something enter my body, and I lifted up and I kind of walked over, very like confused, like, and I looked over the back deck where the farmland was, where they had really wrote off the farmland, and it was a disgust. And I went back to the spot I was at, back the same place, and back down, and then I could feel it. I could feel it leave, and as it left, the two slices come back together and turn back into the sun. And people say, well, that was psychosis or schizophrenia. No, I know what I see and I know what I experience, whether you fucking believe it or not. I'm not the one that needs anything else. You need to be educated and step out of that limited belief system, because that's what you're witnessing around the world right now. That's why everything seems so blind. The deaths have been open, and doors have been open. So now we're being made to look at our own shit, because the mother said, hey, no more. Jesus or Christ is not going to die for your sins anymore. And you're going to confess to yourself now. That was the curse. Well, it was the part of you cursed Christ every time. Now it's the Christ. You're going to experience what you refuse to experience or work through. It's that part of making you face your worst fear. And the worst fear is truth. Why do you think you kept pushing hope down into Pandora's box? Because it was what you did not want to look at. Because somebody else will die for it. So just put it on them and then they can deal with it for you. Human mind is like a computer. The more you try compressing the story, what's going to happen? It's going to get full. The antivirus, okay, the anti is the limited beliefs. It's like the antivirus going in and trying, the antivirus is what's trying to go in to sort through everything in your computer, right? To get what no longer serves. If it gets too much, what ends up happening, the computer crashes, right? So it's not useful until you figure out how to bring it back, right? It's like a death of the computer, the death rebirth. So death and birth, or death and rebirth, and reincarnation. Reincarnation, you say you come back as different versions of things in the universe or on the earth. Plant life, the rebirths, right? It comes back. Resurrection is resurrecting maybe old things. And the rebirth is being able to face the old things and moving forward from it, growing past it. And when you get through that, then what ends up happening, it's like a death of the old and rebirthing the new. It's like when a new flower, it's like the resurrection of the flower, but it rebirths stuff. Because the old leaves and petals and what have you, they no longer serve. So they drop it and then they come back. It's like whenever you go through something, that's a form of a rebirth because you're rebirthing yourself from that experience. You can feel that. It's like, I just don't want to let spirit speak because spirit's going to get both versions. Spirit is both on the parallel, like the parallel, the light and the dark. They both got to hear it. I can see it, and I'm going like this, and like it's like my feet are going when they were doing that. So I said, I'm in spirit all the time. People say that's a psychosis. No, I'm always seeing through. It's like all versions of spirit. Everyone's like, hey, it is look what they're doing, right? Like, yeah, y'all get up and dance now. Listen, let's see at the loading center. You know, some people may not take me seriously because of what you like. What you witness is like, you know, welcome to the world of spirit. People didn't like that because I could feel somebody trying to pull my, like, hold on to my tongue. Like, I'll pull your tongue out. Yeah? You pull my tongue out, another one will just grow. Wish the Lord is a little blank. Here we go again. This head scratcher very much. It's like who's having this shit now? Ahorita como well, I'm well aware of everything I'm going through. It's, you know, when psychosis is schizophrenia and stuff, that's when you're not aware. And that's why they say, like, they say temporary insanity, but, you know, I'm bringing forward. So, you know, but pretty soon there's not going to be any excuse for it. Yo solo acabo de decir un trae. He's working all year, all April. You know, I can feel it. So, you know, I'll help you because I'll cut that really hole out of there. Who are you talking to? I'm talking to the one that is trying to energetically pull my tongue. I don't know if he said I did or I didn't. Who should I have? Yeah, it at times it almost feels like I don't have a tongue in my mouth. It's like that energy holds. But see, I describe what I'm experiencing. Okay. And I'm very well aware of what I'm experiencing. You know, that reminded me of the video that people put up with Miley Cyrus. You know, there's a lot of messed up stuff happening in the world, okay? And I understand that. And I know how I look, right? Okay. Because people said she is reptilian, okay? Which we all have that reptilian. You know, when you're making faces and what have you, and you're trying to be funny, sometimes it's that reaction, like, because sometimes your spirit has a mind of its own. It's not that you're physically a reptilian, but you say about the reptilian spine. Okay. Well, you all have a spine, right? So if you have a spine, is that not the reptilian spine? Could you not be a walking serpent? It's like, hear me out. Have a salamander. Okay, look at a salamander. Okay, we have a tail. That's why it's called a tail bone. And what is the tail bone? Close to the spine, right? So it's like a snake. But you demonize your own spine. You know how they say, why don't you get a spine? Do you know what that actually means? Like, why don't you become anointed? Why don't you connect with your body itself? You're like I said, you have the head, you have in the legs. You got the tail, but it's not pushed up. But by fuck, when you land on it, does it ever work? So when you take, okay, because everything has a significance of looking at the human body. That's what I say. If you want to understand the universe, understand the human body. If you want to understand the human body, understand the universe. So it works in that way. So people say about restoring, they'll demonize it in religion. It gets demonized, but yet they were said to be following the restorer. But when we watched the Carpenter son, they had nothing on that four wives and 3 kids or anything like that. So when people are saying love and light, well, that was not love and light. That was a dark, because it was a dark experience for some and a light experience for another. But I getting that it was more dark than anything. Because if you have a light baby coming into the world, then the dark is going to go out. If you have a dark baby in the world, then the light is going to go out. So it's polarities, right? So it's like you're experiencing things one way and in a different aspect of yourself. You're experiencing it another. You can physically experience it, energetically, spiritually experience it. And I know many people don't look at the spiritual awakening. I heard somebody say, you and your spiritual head, you and your spiritual head. Yep, and I'm part of the fucking spiritual head. But it's not spiritual head. It's a spiritual essence. It's a spiritual body. It's a spiritual mindset. It's spirit itself. It's the blasphemy of the spirit. You're denying the spirit. You're so far in your physical that you are denying your spirit. That's the blasphemy. Denying yourself growth. You're denying yourself this stuff. Because you're denying spirit. That's your blessing. It's not your God. Like, it's God, even denying each other. People denying the birth of their child. But you're denying their spirit. Should you deny your own child? No. But why are you denying yourself? After I said, well, why are you denying yourself? Next, I looked in the window with his glasses off. Just kind of worked. But where does spirit come from? Spirit lives in the shadows, right? So if spirit lives in the shadows, okay, spirit is, you say that the light is the father, but the spirit is actually the father. I allow it to be the shadow because the shadow and the light need to communicate with one another. But the shadow is wanting to be heard and understood. That it wasn't that way in you. Run from yourself. You're running from your shadow. Make your shadow. You're denying the father. And there's got a lot of things like some people, when they're at their moments, they laugh instead of cry. So many signals for my blessings to anyone, everyone watching, you like to receive yourself. I want you to be big, very most important. Be yourself, be your authentic self, be true and kind to yourself. Even you are not making a decision not to be. Consider